career consulting. And today I'm going to talk to you about the rule of three, communication. Okay? And as we can see on this pie chart, there are three facets, three rules, that talk about communication. These are three aspects that, regardless of our opinion about them, are working as we look and interpret somebody who we're communicating with. Okay? As you are watching this now, you are making a decision about me, good, bad, or indifferent, based on these three ideas. Okay? The first is body language. Okay? What we see here, 55% of the information that you are taking in now regarding how I'm communicating with you is based on my physicality. Okay? You are making decisions based on your experience, based on your own actions, based on what you've heard, based on what you've seen in movies, what you've read about. They've all combined together to give you an instinctive, almost fraction of a second, you have made a decision, okay? Now, as you are making that decision, other people do exactly the same to you. And this is the point that we are talking about in communication, that we are responsible for how we present ourselves, even when people misinterpret what we are doing. Therefore, we have to be absolutely clear that that is our intention, so that if and when they come back and ask us, why did you do that, you can say, this was my intention. And you have to be then aware of yourself to see that your thought about doing something is actually reflected in the body, okay? The second aspect is the tonality, the tone in which you're speaking to somebody, okay? In a sentence, your tone may change in many different ways, go up and down. When you're trying to be persuasive, your tone may be smoother and quieter and calmer, okay? When you're talking to a child and trying to get them to sleep, you wouldn't be yelling at them. The tone in which you are communicating tells that person that that is something that they like or they don't like, okay? It's a fact that women measure the tonality of somebody as a much more significant factor about whether they believe them or not, okay, than a man does. A man will more likely look at the physicality and perhaps the use of the words. Okay? But in a woman's eye, they're hearing the tone, and the tone tells them whether this person should be trusted or not. Okay? Which is, again, when we look at our politicians, we can see almost instantly who's going to win and who's not going to win, outside of the money aspect, of course, by how they present themselves. I'm talking about all of these things here because they tell us something about ourselves. Beyond looking at ourselves in the mirror and imagining ourselves to be this attractive character or unattractive, whatever our disposition is, okay, we take into ourselves these ideas. Again, when we're looking at somebody else, we instinctively make these judgments. Now, after making those judgments, and if we are honest with ourselves about the fact that we have actually judged that person based on them having a long beard, having a little turban, or wearing different clothes, we make a decision. We can see as a point that the way our media is now painting people from the Far East, the Middle East, okay? People with beards and turbans are now associated with being terrorists. It wasn't too long ago that people with my complexion were considered basically terrorists against the white majority. That has changed now because people are now saying that isn't the case. They've met too many people with my color and said, no, that's not the case. And soon we will hopefully have the same attitude towards people from the Middle East. Because they're not all terrorists just because of the way they look. But media has a way, and by media I mean everybody, and I'm part of that media right now, everybody that is propagating an association between one factor and another and saying, they represent this thing, okay? We are all subjected to that. And one of the things that I'm hoping that you get from this particular program is the ability to stop and ask your question. Yes, I have an impression because of all this information that's been given me about that person, about that woman, about that man. But is it sensible? Is it true? How would they think about that in terms of me? How would they look at me? Would they not put me in a category? And if they can put me in a category, shouldn't I question that? Okay? The fact that we so easily do these things. Okay? So again, the rule of 3 communications are body language. It takes a lot of information we get from that. Tonality. If you want to control how people perceive you, change your tone. And in terms of verbal, this is one of those areas where we're all educated, well, many of us are educated to learn big words and everything. And I came from that environment. You know, I was told when I was coming up that if you have a great vocabulary, you will be respected and you will go on and you will get the best jobs and everything. That's not true. But at the same time, it doesn't do you any harm to have a good vocabulary. But remember that most people are not even listening to you. They're not listening to those words. They buzz that out. Much of what you are listening to and you're making a decision about, if you haven't turned the video off already, is how I'm presenting this. The idea is only turn you one way or the other to say, oh no, I've heard this before, or you know, I don't want to hear it, or yeah, oh yes, I want more of this, okay? But you've already made a decision in the short time that we've spoken about this. What I'd like you to understand is that the same decision-making process is working when people see you. So if you want to change how people perceive you, you have to change your communication style, okay? So until next time, this is Ian Moore with More Career Consulting.